Okay, so, like, have you ever really thought about it? How we can just move?
What do you mean?
Well, like, we walk, we run. I can even bust out a pretty mean Macarena after a couple of coffees.
Okay, yeah, I get it.
But have you ever thought about what goes into making all of that happen? Like, how our bodies actually do it all?
Hmm. I guess I haven't given it much thought.
Well, that's what we're looking at today, the whole world of kinesiology.
Kinesiology, right? The science of movement, basically.
Exactly, figuring out all the little details of how we move.
Yeah, like the human body is super impressive when you think about it.
Totally. So we're not just talking muscles, right? It's
Yeah.
got to be way more than that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
You're right. People always think kinesiology is all about athletes, and well, yeah, that's a big part of it. But it's way more than that. Way broader. It's about understanding like the entire system.
Okay.
So muscles, bones, nerves, the whole thing, all of it. And all of it can be used for anyone.
Right. It's not just about like helping athletes shave points off their marathon time or whatever.
Exactly. I mean, it's for athletes for sure if they want to get a competitive edge or someone recovering from an injury.
Yeah, yeah.
It can even help you and me just wanting to move a little easier every day, and hopefully avoid any problems in the future.
Speaking of, I was looking at this profile on RoleCatcher, and there was this kinesiologist who works with
The
dancers.
answers.
Yeah, at this like really famous ballet company. Not your average sports team, huh?
Wow, that's cool. And you're right, not your typical team at all.
Exactly.
See, that's what's so interesting about kinesiology.
Yeah.
It really is a fascinating field. There are kinesiologists helping people who've had strokes get moving again,
Hmm.
others working with kids who have developmental
Yeah.
challenges.
Wow.
There are even some who specialize in ergonomics.
Ergonomics.
Yeah, like how your workstation is set up and everything, so you can avoid injuries at work.
Oh, right, right. So it seems like kinesiologists need to really get how the body works as this like whole system.
Totally.
But they're also working with people, one-on-one with their own challenges and goals.
Yeah,
Seems like it would take a very specific type of person to do that.
you're right.
Someone who gets the science but can also connect with people, right?
Absolutely. You've got to have that blend of knowledge and empathy.
Yeah.
And you can see that emphasis in the RoleCatcher stuff, too.
Yeah.
It talks about all of it, the hard skills, like being able to analyze how people move, understanding the mechanics of it all.
Right, right.
But then also those other skills, those soft skills, like they call them.
Like being able to talk to people.
Yeah, exactly. Communication is so important. But also just being able to understand other people, being able to motivate them, things like that.
It's like this perfect mix of, what would you call it? Science and heart.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Speaking of science, I'm curious about the tech they use. It seems like a field that could use some really cool cutting-edge tools. What can you tell me about that?
Oh, for sure. Technology is super important in kinesiology, more and more these days. We're talking about things like motion capture systems.
Motion capture systems, like in the movie.
Yeah, kind of. So they let kinesiologists analyze movement in this crazy detail. Like
Hmm.
they can see every single angle of the joints, how much each muscle is working, everything. It's really incredible.
Wow, they can see all of that. That's wild. So it's like, what, cameras and sensors and stuff?
Yeah, exactly. It's super high tech. But that's not all. There's also all the wearable tech that's everywhere these days.
Right, like Fitbits and Apple Watches, that kind of thing.
Exactly. All those
Yeah.
fitness trackers and smartwatches. And they've gotten really good, like seriously advanced even in the last few years.
So how do kinesiologists use them? I mean, I wear one to track my steps and make sure I'm not just like glued to my desk all day.
Right. Well, they can use them for that too. But with clients, it's more than just steps. They can track all sorts of stuff, like how active someone is throughout the day, how well they're sleeping. They can even track heart rate variability, which can tell you a lot about someone's overall health and fitness.
Wow, so they're getting this full picture of how people are moving even when they're not like in the clinic.
Yeah, exactly. It's like having a window into their everyday life. And then on top of all that, there's telehealth.
Telehealth, you mean like Zoom calls with your doctor?
Yeah, kind of. Kinesiologists can use it too. They can do consultations remotely, look at how someone moves, even create a whole exercise plan, all online.
That's amazing. I didn't even know that was a thing. It seems like that would make it way easier for people to get help from a kinesiologist.
For sure. It definitely makes it more accessible.
So with all this technology, it feels like the sky's the limit.
I know, right? And the tech is only getting better. It's really pushing the boundaries of what's possible in kinesiology.
Okay, so let's say someone's listening to all of this and they're like, sign me up. This sounds like the career for me. What's the path even like? How do you become a kinesiologist?
That's a great question. And thankfully, RoleCatcher has some great info on this. They break down what a kinesiology career usually looks like, the typical stages.
Yeah.
They talk about starting out as an entry-level kinesiologist.
Entry level.
Yeah, so you're basically just starting out, working under more experienced people, helping out with assessments and stuff, really just trying to learn as much as you can, kind of like an apprenticeship, but for movement.
Okay, so like lots of hands-on experience.
Exactly. You're building a solid foundation in those early years,
Hmm.
staying updated on all the research coming out, developing those critical thinking skills. And then as you get more experience, you might move into a junior kinesiologist role.
And what does a junior kinesiologist do?
That's where you start taking on more responsibility. Designing and running those movement programs, working more directly with clients, and collaborating with other healthcare professionals. It's exciting.
So like really making a difference in people's lives at that point.
Absolutely.
Wow.
You're taking all that knowledge and putting it into practice. And then as you keep learning and getting better at what you do, you could become a senior kinesiologist.
Okay, now we're talking expert level. What would a senior kinesiologist be doing?
Well, at that stage, you might be the one leading research projects, mentoring newer kinesiologists, presenting at conferences, maybe even consulting for companies about ergonomics and preventing injuries.
Wow, so there's definitely room to move up in kinesiology to find your niche and really specialize.
Oh, for sure. You can find a career path that really speaks to you, something you're passionate about. But no matter where you end up, you always have to keep learning. Kinesiology is always changing, always evolving. There's always something new to learn about, new research to dig into, new technologies popping up. It's pretty cool, actually.
So even the pros, the people at the top of their game, they never really stop learning.
Exactly. If you want to stay ahead of the curve in this field, you got to love learning. You got to be curious. And that really comes across in the RoleCatcher stuff.
It does.
Yeah, they really emphasize the importance of always developing yourself professionally and being open to new ideas and things.
It's really cool to think about like being in a field where there's always more to discover, always something new to learn.
It definitely keeps things interesting.
But okay, let's be real for a second. What does it really take to be good at this, to be a great kinesiologist?
What do you mean?
Well, we've talked about like people skills and loving to learn and all that.
Right.
But what about the actual, stuff you need, the education and skills?
You mean the nitty-gritty. Yeah, good point. Let's get practical.
Exactly. So, like, what do I need on my resume?
Well, RoleCatcher is really clear about this part, actually.
Okay, good.
They say usually you're going to need at least a bachelor's degree to get started.
Okay, so no, just showing up and saying, I like to move.
Uh-huh. Right.
What kind of degree, though?
Kinesiology, obviously.
Yeah.
But there are other related fields, too, like exercise science or physiology.
Oh, okay.
Even something like biomechanics could be helpful.
So basically, a really good understanding of how the body works is like non-negotiable.
Totally. It's all about movement, right?
Right. But it sounds like it takes more than just like acing anatomy class, right?
You're telling me, remember those, what did I call them? Movement detectives.
Yeah.
That's where all those other skills come in. The RoleCatcher materials go into a lot of detail about this, actually.
Yeah.
For example, they say reading comprehension is a must. Like you have to actually enjoy reading research, keeping up with all the new stuff that's being published.
Okay, so I gotta like enjoy school at least a little bit.
At least a little bit. But just as important, they say, is active listening.
Active listening, what does that mean?
It means you're not just, hearing the words someone is saying.
Uh-huh.
You're really listening to their words, sure, but also to what might be behind the words.
So like what they mean, not just what they say.
Exactly. Like what are their goals? What are they worried about? What are they maybe not saying?
So you're not just treating their like torn hamstring or whatever.
Right.
You're treating the whole person.
Yes. It's about connecting with someone on a human level. So yeah, you need the scientific knowledge for sure.
But you also need like a good bedside manner.
Huh. Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
It seems like in the end, being a kinesiologist is about a lot more than just like knowing stuff.
It's true.
It's about using what you know to help other people, to make their lives better.
That's what it's all about, really.
That's amazing. We've covered a ton today.
We really have.
I feel like my brain is full from how the body moves to all the cool tech that's out there now. This has been an incredible deep dive, so thank you for, coming on the show and sharing your expertise with us.
Happy to do it.
Before we go, I'm curious, is there like one thing you wish more people understood about kinesiology?
Well, that's a good question. I think the biggest misconception is that kinesiology is just for athletes. Like you've got to be training for the Olympics to even think about seeing a kinesiologist.
Yeah, which is totally not true, right?
Exactly. Kinesiology can help everyone. Doesn't matter how old you are, how fit you are, or even if you have any like physical challenges.
Right. It's about figuring out how to move better in your life, not just like on the field or the court or whatever.
Exactly. Whether you're running marathons or you just want to keep up with your grandkids without throwing out your back, understanding how your body moves can be a total game changer.
Love that. This has been such a fascinating conversation, and I really hope it's inspired some people listening to, I don't know, think differently about movement.
Me too.
And if anyone wants to learn more, you should definitely check out the show notes for this episode. We'll
Yes.
link to all that awesome stuff from RoleCatcher that we talked about today.
Seriously, a gold mine.
Interview questions, career paths, the works. Seriously, if you want to learn more about this amazing field, that's the place to start.
Absolutely.
And hey, remember, this journey of understanding movement, it never really ends. So keep asking questions, keep exploring, and, like, most importantly, keep moving. That's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Until next time, stay curious, everyone.